Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little longer than normal because I'm going to be taking you through my quarterly and monthly review process. I will be getting into probably a few annual review sorts of things just because I'm already starting to plan out 2018, and so I need to put in some of my monthly calendars for that time frame so that I can go ahead and have a place to future plan out aside from what I'm using right now, which I believe is back here. It's just a piece of paper that has some information about major events that are going on next year. Really quick, let me just take you through what my current setup is of my personal planner. I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. I am currently in the Foxy rings that you've seen before. Briefly, I was in this planner here, which is a Filofax, oops, it's upside down, Filofax original, and this is in kind of a burnt orange color. What I've done is I've actually put my work planner things in here. I have the Cocoa Daisy inserts. I just need something for work that's kind of a bullet journal style. You can see here, this is kind of how I start it, just so I have a place to make notes about what my schedule is, what my to-do list is, things to check off. So because the rings on this one are actually fairly small, that's why I've made this one my work planner, because I don't need as much room. All right, so quickly in this planner, I've made some dashboards that were fall themed. I had something very similar for an A5 planner and I really liked them. So thankfully I'd bought some extra paper and I went and I made them. So they're double-sided. I basically just used a tape runner and taped the two pieces together. And then I used the tab punch from, I think it's American Crafts. I'll actually put a link into it below. I did do things a little bit differently on these. I measured them out. There's a video I used to cut these out because normally when you get it, I think they only do 3 or 4 tabs and I wanted, I think, 6. So I'll link that video below that showed you how I did this, and I actually rounded the corners with a pair of scissors. It's not perfect, but it works. So this is my next tab for meals. That's the back side. The goals tab looks like that. I put a pink polka dot on the back of that one. It's my to-do tab, back side, with the black and white polka dots. The list page has this pretty floral with the black and white. I guess the other one is white and black. This one's black and white. The routines tab has kind of a multicolored cheetah print, and the back side of that is a stripe. These tabs back here came from the Kinley's Doodles box, so I went ahead and tossed those in because I needed a little bit of extra tab space, and I still am using this as a wallet. Instead of using post-it notes all over everything, I actually just took the wallet parts out. So that is kind of where I am in this planner right now. So I'm going to start big and work my way down. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm working out of the Momentum planner. So I've gone ahead and printed out the quarterly information for quarter 4, and I actually did print out all 3 months, October, November, December. But right now I'm just working with the tail end of quarter 3 to see what I've finished and setting up quarter 4. All right. So the first place I'm going to start is by taking a look at my annual page and just looking to see what all has been finished and what still needs to be done. So I've finished lease renewals, I've hit the goal weight for this quarter. I've automated the new hire forms. The restructuring of the onboarding process still needs to be done. We finished the backyard pergola. And then I usually will look ahead too to see if I've completed anything ahead of schedule. And well, it doesn't look like I have. The quarter 4 goals still stand as far as what I have on here right now. So next I'm going to pull out my quarterly Momentum planner, the one for quarter 3, which we just finished. I'm going to take a look at this and see if there's anything that I need to check off on this. So I've finished the backyard pergola. Again, these things trickle down, so I'll be checking off similar items. Let's see. And then I have my monthly planner, which I'm looking at here. We've started booking our New Zealand trip, so I'll go ahead and consider that done. We still have hotels and things to do, but at least the plane fare is done. We know we're gonna get there. Let's see. I've been automating office forms, so that's pretty much done. Again, those are quarterly objectives. And I have really slacked off on the decluttering. I have not done any of that, so that's gonna have to transfer forward to the next quarter. So now that I know kind of where we are, what still needs to be done, here is my blank quarter 4 Momentum planner. And I'm going to pull these off to the side because I need a little more room to have all of these put together. And like I said, this is going to be a bit of a longer video because I'm actually going to be filling these things out while you're watching. And I am left-handed, so I apologize that I have to have all of this stuff kind of at a slant, but it looks like you can still see it. So right now what I'm doing is copying over the annual goals that are still left that haven't been completed yet. Alright, so it looks like I have 3 of my annual goals left, so that's good. So Q4 objectives, what am I wanting to accomplish? So basically I'm going to be transferring this section here over to this section here. And some of this I'm being a little more specific. So plan and book New Zealand trip is booking New Zealand hotels and car. Now you'll notice there's a few things that I did not transfer over to the Q4 objectives. These are things that are actually probably more of a monthly type of goal rather than a quarterly type of goal. So these I'm actually going to move into the monthly section. And then there's this review revise manuals, which I have 18 written next to. So that's actually something that is going to be for next year. So that's not even going to get transferred over here. Now, some of these I know that I have goals kind of already set up. Mainly it's my get closer to a healthier weight. And so pretty much my goal is 2 pounds a month. It seems to be very doable at this point in time. I'm hoping that continues. So all I have to do is just keep subtracting 2 pounds each month. We'll see how this holds up during the holidays, but for now that's the plan. Okay, so now I have some of my goals for October 2017 written down. A couple of other things I need to transfer are major events. And I am just abbreviating with an O for October. Thankfully this quarter it makes it easier because all the months start with a different letter. Sometimes it doesn't work, but for this instance it does. Alright, so I have my major events filled out. A couple of other things that I have written down elsewhere that I need to transfer over. Because I'm trying to get pre-check, which I would be using all the time, but also to make life a little bit easier when we go to New Zealand, I'm getting a global entry pass. So my appointment's actually at the end of October for that. So I'm looking forward to getting that out of the way. I'm going to try and get our tax person to our strat planning meeting. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The other thing I'm keeping in mind is these monthly objectives should be supporting my annual and quarterly objectives. So if clearing surface clutter is something that's a goal, then I need to find a way to break that down each month so I'm making progress on it. So in this case, use zones to declutter. That's going to go on each month. In November, I know is actually when I'll be completing the NAA Lyceum program. So I can put that there because I am trying to limit myself to just 5 each month. That means that I will actually probably get some of these completed. Then this restructure onboarding process I'll want to put into November. It also needs to go in November because some of that depends on the strategic planning meeting and what comes out of that. The other thing is I'm going to be chair of the legislative committee for the California Rental Housing Association. So I'm meeting with my co-chair in October. So November I think will be a good point to go ahead and try and plan for the following year and figure out when we want meetings, how we want to handle that, because I'll have had that meeting, then that'll give me a chance to get that information put together. And then finally, use zones to declutter. So as far as December goes, pretty much the only thing I know of is this decluttering. Because I can see I'm going to be out of town quite a bit in November. I know that this will probably be all that I can get accomplished, and some of this might actually get bumped to December, so I'm going to leave December fairly open. It's usually easy to plan 2 months ahead. 3 months ahead kind of starts getting a little squirrely because I don't know how things are going to go. So I have my quarterly planner finished. We'll kind of push this over here so I can use it to put together my monthly page. Yes, it's a lot of rewriting, but hey, at least this way it commits it to memory. And actually, if you buy the planner, it does come in a fillable PDF, so you could type these things in, but just because it's easier for me to remember things when I write it over and over again, and it helps me commit, so I don't mind rewriting this. And plus, I only do this every couple of months anyway. Okay, so I have my quarterly objectives transferred. Now I want to transfer my monthly objectives as well. And one thing I do try and do, especially the further drilled down I get, rather than just writing 2018 budgets, I actually try and make it a task that I know that I can complete, so I don't have to think, well, what is it I'm trying to do? So really and truly, I need to be writing complete 2018 budgets instead of just 2018 budgets, because otherwise I have to stop and look at that and try and remember, well, what about the budgets am I trying to do? In this case, I'll want to hold, I'll just put strat planning / tax meeting. That is something I am trying to work on, being better about structuring my tasks and projects to where they're an actionable item and not just some sort of random reminder that's somewhat half code. So I have my quarterly objectives, I have my monthly objectives. So now what I'm doing is breaking down the weeks. So with that, I can move these out of the way because I don't need them anymore. But what I do need is my monthly calendar, because I need to look at my scheduled events, because that will actually really impact the time I have available to work on things. Going to take a look at this really quick and see what I have going on. And granted, I could just pull everything out, but if I transfer this information onto this paper, that means I only need to have this paper out in order to be planning out my weeks. I don't continually have to pull everything out and make a giant mess all over the place. Although I usually do anyway, but it limits it a little bit. Now, you can see these are just kind of the big general things. I don't have everything written down. And I think I'm missing a board meeting somewhere in this area here, but I can always add that later. I have a few extra spaces, but this kind of gives me the big picture of what's going on. So I will bump this out of the way. So from here, this is where I can start breaking things down over weeks. And again, they give you 5 spots for each week. So these are kind of your 5 major tasks that you're wanting to accomplish. I actually generally tend to plan out the weeks right before when I do the weekly planning, rather than trying to do it at the beginning during the monthly planning. Sometimes if I know I have something big that I need to work on, I will go ahead and write that in. Say, for example, this week I have the global entry appointment. So I actually need to make sure I bring passport with me. So I need to get that out of our box where we keep all of our special papers in case we ever need to evacuate. That's just a reminder for me to grab that as well. That same week, I have a meeting with my co-chair. And I'll actually be driving up north with my husband because my co-chair actually is in LA. I'm in San Diego, so we're kind of meeting someplace in the middle, which is also where my husband works. So I'm just gonna catch a ride with him that day. So that pretty much blocks out that entire day. It'll be all traveling, and I'll probably bring my laptop and work a little bit remotely. Probably not much more than that. And I don't think we've nailed down a strat planning date yet, so that's one other thing that I'll need to do in here. I actually need to email our CPA and figure out when she's available so that we can try and get her to our strat planning meeting. So that's kind of the major things that I know that I need to accomplish. Again, I'll fill this out in more detail as we go throughout all of the weeks. And this, again, is mostly for work. I generally don't have as much big stuff going on personally. You'll see there are some personal things in here. That's kind of how I structure my quarterly and my monthly planning, is using these 2 pages. Now that I've got these written out, taken care of, I'm going to put these over to the side where I can see them because I will be using them coming up here. So let's bring this planner forward. First of all, what I'm going to grab are these routine pages back here. So I did make some new ones because I've made some changes to these. I did have a request for making these into printables. Now, because the information I have on here, some of it isn't universally applicable. Like, not everybody has a business. Not everybody needs to schedule Bible studies. Really depends on what your routines are. So I didn't feel like making these into printables would be super helpful for everybody. So I'm going to insert a video that I made earlier today talking about how I make these so that you can set up your own. I mean, I'm going to walk you through how I do my monthly and quarterly reviews in this planner, so you can take that information and type up your own pages. The video I'm about to insert will give you that information. So several videos ago, I had someone who had requested that I go ahead and share printables with you for the pages that I use that list all of my routines and everything. I thought about doing that, but then I realized I have a lot of things that are on these lists that are personal to me. I even change these fairly often, and so for me to actually create a printable and to hand them out, it's a snapshot for what my life is like at that time. And so I figured it probably would be better if I showed you guys how to create your own, because basically I'm just using a Word document. So I would show you how these are set up. So first of all, you'll see that the paper size I have here, it's actually a half letter size. You can do these on a regular full-size sheet of paper. You can also put 2 to a page, but for me, because I just take full-size sheets of paper and cut them in half and run them through the printer that way, that's how I handle it. But what these are, they're actually just tables. Let me see if I can get them to come up here. So let me just show you the table properties. So essentially all I've done is I've forced these to be the size of a personal size sheet of paper. So if you're using A5, you would just change this to match the A5 size, or usually it's the same as half letter, so you could just print them straight onto the half letter or shrink them down even further for pocket. So you want to check the preferred width to be 3.7 inches. And if you come over here to the row, you want to specify that the height is 6.7 inches. So when you do that, that will create these table cells for you that you can type into. So that's essentially how I have it set up. So each one of these is basically just a new row. It puts it on a new page because of the size. And then I just type in what it is that I want it to say. I do have this both routines daily, my review routines, and then I also have the zones in here. Now, I might also get the question of why don't you share the zones? Those are a little more universal, but the truth is I got these from the Fly Lady website. It's flylady.net. And I took out things that I don't use and I adjusted some of the areas for what I do and don't have in a room. Like, I don't have kids, so I don't have kids' rooms. That is on her original list. My laundry area is actually out in the garage, which is why I have removed the cobwebs from there. It's because it does get cobwebby from time to time. So again, all you have to do is basically go to her website, copy and paste the things that pertain to you, adjust it to what does and doesn't apply to your zone that you're creating, and you print these out. And then I actually have a light gray line around the edge, so I have a cutting line. That makes it easier. I don't have to worry about trying to measure things out and make sure it's centered. I know that it actually is. So that's how I have these set up. I know that you had requested printables, but I feel like this is probably a better option to show you how these are put together, so that way you can put it together for yourself. Let me actually pull up. So really quick, I wanted to show you how I set up the tables on a blank from scratch file. So we'll come up here to Table, Insert Table. We'll want them to be 1 column by 1 row. Click on OK. Now from here, we just need to select the table. Come up to Table Properties. Now again, we want to set the preferred width, which is 3.7. And then we want to go to Row and specify the height, which is the height of your page, which in this case will have actually it's 6.5. And then we'll click OK. And then that creates the table that is the size of your page. Now you are going to want to indent this a little bit, because if you don't, you're going to have your typing where your holes will be. So if you come back over to Home and hit this Insert button, that will give you enough clearance that you should be able to type and not be in the way of the holes. Now if you did want to change the border so that it's lighter, so that when you cut it, if you don't cut exactly, you don't see it quite as much, you come over here to Table Properties, come down to Borders and Shading, and then you can come here to Color and then change the color to however dark that you need it to be, and that will change it for you. Let's actually make it fairly light, because we just need to barely be able to see it. Again, if your printer prints fairly light, you may want to make it a little bit darker. Sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error to make sure that you get it right, but that's how you do it. Okay, so now we're back, and let's go ahead and take a look at getting everything set up, coming up for the upcoming month. All right, so I'm leaving September in here Today is the 20th, so nope, today's the 27th. I don't even know what day today is. So I still have a few more days left, so I'm gonna leave this page in here. However, that being said, I really don't need the earlier pages from this month. So I am gonna flip through really quick and make sure, actually let me pull these out because it'll make flipping through them a little bit easier. Just gonna double check and make sure there's nothing in here that I need to write down someplace, keep an eye on, or bring forward. You can kind of see how my pages ended up looking. I mean, I do put some decorative things on here. A lot of these stickers I made, these were from the Super and Glam sticker kit. I think it was a monthly one. That's also where these came from as well. And again, I made these. So it's just little things I put in to make it look a little bit prettier, not quite so black and white. And you can see I don't always check stuff off. All right, so I don't really see anything that I need to write down or transfer anywhere else. I'll put those off to the side. So this is this week, so I'm going to keep this in here. All right, so here's October, and then I just stuck these in here. These are the pages that came with the Cocoa Daisy inserts. I don't know if I'm going to use these or not. It's a weekly view, it's undated. I think for now I'm going to take them out because I'm about to put a bunch more pages in here. If I decide to use them, I can always put them back in. All right, so here are all my blank pages. I just printed these out this morning, cut them apart. Now I did make these, however, if you like them, I modeled them after the planner spot. I modeled them after her inserts, and she does have, I think, the exact same ones for sale in her Etsy shop, and I'll link that below. So if you want these, they're printables. I think a few times a month, every couple of months, she'll do printed inserts that you can order if you don't want to print your own. She does have these available for printables. All right. So when I do my weekly planning, that's actually when I go in here and write the dates on the pages. You can see where I wrote the date up top. Now I did leave a bigger spot here, so if I ever wanted to go in and stamp them, I can. To be honest with you, it's a nice idea, but it's a lot of work, and unless I just feel like doing something decorative that day, it's too much work. Sometimes I just want to get through it and get it done. So I'm actually gonna put this back just in case you want to see. I think I've shown this to you before. This was just my weekly and daily routine page as far as just how my weeks and days are structured. A lot of this is modeled after the Fly Lady. So if you go to her website, flylady.net, which I think I mentioned in the previous inset video that talked about making these, that's where I got a lot of this information from. And then I tweaked it to make it my own. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and put these back here under routines, which is where they end up when I'm done with them. All right, so these are set up from largest view to smallest, so yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. So I'm not working on weekly, daily today, so I'm gonna put this back here under reviews, or under review, just I'm sure you can understand, I'm just trying to get myself kind of cleaned up here, put back together. All right. So today we are working on quarterly and monthly reviews. So the first thing on here is a brain dump. I don't really feel like I need to do that. I feel like I kind of have things under control. I may do one later. I don't think it's something you necessarily need to watch me do. It's basically just sitting there and thinking, what all do I need to get done that I don't already have written down? Next thing on my list is to review the calendar for the quarter and look for the big events that need to be planned for. So I've taken a lot of them out because I've been in smaller ringed planners. I didn't have room to keep the entire year, but I do have these little tabs, and I had them in several different colors. So each quarter had its own color. So you can see October, November, December is moving into just a blue color. So things I need to plan for: an overnight trip to Orlando. So all the way across the country for one night, but I'm doing it for the apartment association as a favor. They wanted me to check out an event that the Orlando Association is doing. We already talked briefly about the meeting I have up in Irvine and the global entry appointment. My husband's birthday is on the 9th. Both my mom and sister, who are my business partners as well, will be out of town at the same time, so that's always important to note. And then we're throwing my mom a birthday party on the 14th. November, Can you see I'm traveling a lot? Okay, December is blessedly looking blank. Granted, I haven't gone through and filled anything in here yet, as far as things like house cleaning, when that happens, or filling in. I don't know why I don't have the holiday in here. That's interesting. Usually I'll have the holidays pre-filled, and usually I use the little stickers from Planner Kate, which is where the payday stickers came from. It's like, so this one, like here, the Columbus Day is a Planner Kate sticker. So it looks like I need to order another set so I can finish out the last couple of months here. That will be something that I will probably fill in sometime in November, probably the beginning of November before I go out of town, since I will be gone most of the month. So I'll probably plan on, I don't know when I'll fill that in. Probably the first couple of days or maybe at the end of October. All right. So I mentioned earlier, I think, that I do need to go ahead and start planning for 2018 because I already have stuff that's coming in. So the other thing I did is, these are from Annie Plans Printables. I printed out, all she had in a Monday start was the academic year, so I went ahead and printed that. So we'll go ahead and put those in here. I'm gonna move this. Now, because I usually do mark off trips and things with washi tape, I will actually probably do that off camera because I didn't pull any decorative stuff today. This is, again, mostly about functional planning, so I'll probably go in and fill that in later. I know you guys are gonna get mad because I just popped the rings open like that, but you know, I try and remember to do it from the side like you're supposed to, but sometimes when it's on the end, if I do that, then everything pops out. So the other thing I printed off from Annie Plans Printables today is this year at a glance. And again, what I do is I go in with a highlighter and highlight trips. So I know large blocks of time if I'm going to be out of town or traveling or big things that are happening. So I'm just going to put this in here right at the beginning of 2018. All right, so that part's kind of sort of more of like an annual review thing, set up new calendar, but I like to go ahead and just get it in there at least the first few months so that I have something to work off of. So I've looked for the big events, review and add to editorial calendar. I don't think I showed this to you the last time when we went through all of my planners. I don't think I did, maybe. This is what I'm using for my editorial calendar right now. It's a happy planner. This is the actual planner itself. And what I'm actually using in here, they are from DIY Fish. I'd started to use these earlier for something else. I ended up ditching them. I think I was doing like my blog calendar in here. So really and truly, actually all I'm using is this monthly fold out and this page here, which is just like a notes page. So I have, it comes with these weeks, but I'm not really using them, as you can see. The only other thing I am using are these, also from Annie Plans Printables, their blog and YouTube planner sheets. So it gives you a spot to put title, due date, any notes you have. Case in point, these are all scribbles. This is the one for today. So I have, there's a spot for tags, category. I have notes down here as far as what links I want to add in the description, future ideas. So that's what I'm using right now for my YouTube/blog planner, although mostly I'm doing YouTube posts now. So anyway, when I have a note on here to update the editorial calendar, that is this here. And just to quickly show you, I am writing things down on these sticky notes. And then once I've actually recorded and uploaded the video, that's when I write it in. Whoops, bump that over. So you can see these little sticky notes here. Next thing is to set quarterly goals and fill out the Momentum Planner quarterly page, which is something that we did earlier. Like I said, I don't always do these in order, but that was this page here that I filled out a little bit earlier, so that's done. And then creating monthly projects and tasks to accomplish goals. That was this monthly Momentum Planner page that we filled out. The quarterly review is pretty much done. Basically, I'm looking ahead to see what I have going on, setting goals, and breaking things down by month. All right, now for the monthly review, migrating tasks and projects not completed. You saw me flip through my daily pages. There are things that are not done, but they were routine things and not major tasks or projects. What I did start doing, and I think I mentioned this before, is things that I needed to do, not necessarily on a specific date, but stuff I needed to get done. I started writing on this piece of paper here, which is basically just graph paper that I cut down to half of a personal size. I actually need to probably trim some more. I think I only have one left because I keep the extras right here after the monthly page. So that's kind of how I'm handling those tasks, because that way I don't have to keep rewriting them day after day, moving them forward. So complete index and archive previous month. I have periodically kept a monthly index. I don't really have one here. Generally, I put it on the back side of the monthly page. I also was keeping them for a little while in my Erin Condren planner. To be honest, I don't really have anything personal that usually needs to go on a monthly index page. For work, I do, so I will keep those sorts of things in the work planner. Generally, it's just keeping track of when people were hired, when their start date was, that sort of thing for HR, because that is one of my job duties. However, for accounting, there isn't really too much that I need to keep track of. Sometimes it's when I've asked someone for something and I'm waiting for something back. Sometimes that will make it on there if it's a longer term thing that I'm waiting on. Review next month's calendar and sync with phone. I usually try and do this weekly also. I don't think there's anything on here, and I think I've talked about this before. Essentially, I just pull up the calendar app on my phone and just kind of scroll through, and I know it looks scary, but I have several different calendars on here for the work, and I also swing dance, so I have that's what's in yellow down here. It's just the calendar that they control, not me. So if I decide I want to go, I have information about what's going on that night. So anyway, I just kind of scroll through and look and see if there's anything that's on here that I've maybe added with work or that I was invited to as part of work that didn't make it onto the calendar. That being said, in October, on the 31st, I remember that I have an insurance meeting that got booked. On Halloween, yes. So, and I don't write too much information usually. Sometimes it's just what it is and the time, and then on the daily page is where I'll include more information. Usually though, if it's work related, I don't bother adding it in because I am at my computer all day long. So I mentioned budget meeting earlier, board meeting, so I'll put that in. And I usually have an executive board meeting as well on the 12th. There we go. So those are the things that I know that didn't make it on. I've synced everything up. So review quarterly goals, make monthly goals, and schedule out projects and tasks in the Momentum Planner weeks. So I've showed you the quarterly and monthly pages. So this is the weekly page. Okay, I'm gonna push this back here so I have a little bit of room. All right, and then I'm going to pull the monthly page. And again, this is where some of that transferring happens. So we'll transfer over the monthly objectives. Now keep in mind, normally, if anything, it's the monthly and then the weekly planner at the same time, but I generally am not writing all of this down. And to be honest, usually I do this on separate days anyway, so that I'm not spending all this time writing and rewriting stuff. So yes, I know it seems like a lot of writing as I transfer things, but I don't generally do it all at the same time. Okay, so rather than having you sit and watch me write everything out, I went ahead and did that off camera. And so I just want to tell you kind of how I filled all of this out. So I did go through this week and look to see what my scheduled events were. So I'm teaching on Monday, and on Thursday I have 2 ledge meetings. For me, working out is a priority, trying to make health a priority this year. So I went ahead and wrote down workout every single day. I generally only work out one day between Saturday and Sunday, so it's fine that those are combined for me. As I said, I'm teaching on Monday, so I went ahead and wrote that in, and then I crossed out all the other lines. That's all I'm doing. I don't have any extra time to do any other tasks, so that's fine. Wednesdays I work from home and get things done around the house, so I went ahead and wrote in the declutter dining room, because that's the zone this week, to support this use zones to declutter, and I went ahead and put it on Saturday, Sunday as well. Well, that's the other thing I forgot to write down. 7th and 8th is Maker Faire. So I'm not sure which day we're going because we have a ticket for both days, but that's something we'll be doing this weekend. So I'm looking at the monthly objectives and trying to figure out the next action for each of these to move it forward. The 2018 budgets are waiting on the strat planning meeting, but for that meeting, I need to contact our CPA to make an appointment. So I have that written down here on Tuesday because I do need to get on her calendar quickly. As soon as she's done with all of the people who filed extensions, she can meet with us. Wednesday, I went ahead and wrote down about filming and editing a video. I didn't do one last week. I think I mentioned this earlier just because this one was going to be so long and I needed to plan for it. Thursday, I have the 2 ledge committee meetings, and pretty much that encompasses everything I need to move forward this week. The global entry pass, I just need to pull the passport. I'll do that closer to because I don't want to do it too soon and then lose my passport. see the decluttering part. I sometimes can lose papers. That being said, that's where I filled out everything this week. I'm going to pause and sit and think about this week's projects, and I will be right back. So the projects that I came up with that I need to accomplish this week, I need to process payroll because Friday is payday, and I had actually written that in here on Tuesday because that's when I do payroll. My husband's birthday is next week, so I need to buy him a birthday gift. I need to finalize my mom's party plans with my sister. My mom's party's on the 14th. My sister's out of town from the 10th to the 14th, so we have to get that all finalized this coming week. So that is my weekly momentum planner. So that kind of goes into the weekly planning, but I try and do this ahead of time and figure out, at least for moving my major projects and objectives forward, like what do I need to get done. All right, so let's go back to my monthly review list. So that's reviewing the quarterly goals, making monthly goals, and scheduling out projects and tasks. This, I think, is more referring to this section here. I actually can put some of these forward. Process payroll this week, which means that the next one, as we get paid every 2 weeks, is 2 weeks later. And if you hear dogs in the background, the landscapers are here, and the dogs like to bark at them when they are outside. So I'll probably have to stop the video for a little bit momentarily until they're done, because whenever they turn on the blowers to blow the driveway, that's when the dogs go absolutely bananas. Okay, so that's it for those two things. I told you I would review and add the editorial calendar a little bit later. I actually have already chosen the Bible studies for the month. I kind of bounce back and forth. She Reads Truth is one set of studies that I will do sometimes. Other times it's Hello Mornings. That's the other one that I've done studies through. It really depends on when things are starting, what's going on. Right now, I'm getting back with She Reads Truth. I just finished studies with Hello Mornings on Nehemiah, which actually was really good. All right, the next part is scheduling zones for the month. Sometimes I will sit down and write that on my October calendar. Most of the time I just refer to this page here in the back that has them already written down. It's one zone per week, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just know what week we're on, and then I can flip back here and look. But sometimes I will go ahead and write that in. Clear out all action email folders. I am super guilty of not keeping my email folders cleared out. I get a lot of email. I try and remember to do this once a month. Again, that's kind of an offline, not part of this session of something that I do. Clean out the notes section. A lot of times I'll flip through, see if I've written any notes under the to-do section. I don't think I have anything at the moment. I think it's just the list of things that I wanted to do at home, which I don't really see anything. And I accidentally printed these pages because I made some without the headings. So I've actually started trying to use them for notes pages just so they don't go to waste. That reminds me, speaking of brain dumps, need to inventory our freezer because we are just finishing up on the last split half of beef and pork that we received. So we're trying to figure out when we need to get our next set. Usually it lasts us about a year, and we're running low on pretty much everything right now, except for the pieces that we don't use that often, like London broil and skirt steak. So this is when I start getting creative on meal planning, but I need to go inventory the freezer to see what we have so I can work that in and just start doing searches for recipes that call for those cuts of meat. All right, so I don't have any notes section to clean out. Review all other sections for actionable items. Kind of flip through and look to see, is there anything that this triggers? Looking through the goals section, which is things that I had written down before. One of the things I do weekly is I schedule out fitness. I'm actually on the 4th week of T25, but I have already decided that I'm gonna go back and do another round of Veda, and then actually I'm on Gamma Strength. And then I'm gonna go do just the regular Gamma cycle. I've already made that decision. Usually around this time, I'm trying to figure out, okay, depending on when things end, what's the next set of workouts I'm going to do? I decide that ahead of time. So when one ends, I'm ready to go to the next one. I just keep these in here because that way I have a quick way to reference what the workout schedule is. We have the review section, which is actually, I'll go ahead and put these in here. Here's something that I actually just put it together, I had it a little bit scattered, is a master task list for things that I don't do all that often, but things I need to remember. I mean, obviously I probably won't forget to file taxes, but this gives me a quick list to see, do any of these things fall in where I am in the year? So scheduling a doctor's appointment or eye doctor appointment, cleaning out clothes, which I did actually just do, scheduling a dentist appointment. I schedule those right when I've finished the one I'm at, but sometimes I need to reschedule those. Replanting the vegetable garden for the next season, we're getting ready to do that because because our tomatoes are just about done. Changing oil quarterly, usually that's more of a function of the light coming on in my car than me remembering, oh, I need to schedule it out this month. Cleaning out the garage is definitely time to do that. And then things that happen periodically, but there's not really a set time frame for them. So jetting the drain lines. Our drain lines are clay. We do have trees, and sometimes tree roots get into the drain line, so you'll have to jet them and kind of get the tree roots out so they don't clog. Trimming trees, cleaning your chimney, tuning up the roof, which basically means you're not replacing it, but they're checking the flashing, making sure everything is sealed so there's no leaks. Touching up house paint, which I do need to do. And then replanting garden beds. So not the vegetable gardens, but the regular ones, because sometimes after a while things look kind of sad and it's time to plant new plants and make them look pretty again. I'm just going to tuck this back here in the back of the routine section, because that's something I'll just want to look at every time I'm doing a monthly or quarterly review. So that covers the quarterly review and the monthly review. Hopefully that was informative. I know that a lot of it was just watching me write, but I've also had requests for how I do things and like actually being able to watch me do it rather than just conceptually talking about it. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about why I do things, why I don't do things, and I'd actually like to hear, what do you include in your quarterly and monthly review that maybe I don't? It's always nice to hear what other people are doing. These lists I actually mashed up and then personalized from Antonisha plans and Brandy Michelle plans. That's where these came from. And I'll give you a little hint. If you're watching a video, you can actually blow it up, pause it, and then you can screen capture it. That's how I managed to get a lot of these items written down. So I will actually move this so you can see it. Hopefully you can make it much bigger. Pause it, screen capture it. Here's the other page. And you should probably also be able to do something similar to the pages from earlier when I did the how-to section, so that you can also get the information there. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you subscribe so you'll be notified when I have new videos coming out. And if you haven't already, there's actually a little bell, and if you click on that, you'll actually receive a notification as soon as I upload. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.